It's a great day. My name is Shay Brown, the happy entrepreneur, and welcome to the Happy Entrepreneur Show, the number one business development and revenue focused late night show in the country where we're on a mission. And our mission is to inspire, our mission is to empower, and our mission is to provide you, the entrepreneur, the hard working individual who gets up every single day to make a difference with all of the resources that are necessary to execute that big vision you have for the people you were called to serve. And on this episode, we have the one and only Tammy Cho, who's in the building from Canada. What's going on, Tammy? How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, it's Tammy Cho, and I am in Vancouver, BC, and I'm happy so much to be here with you and
Oh,
with the
thank you so
mission
much,
that you're
Tammy
bringing
Cho,
to
for
the
being here.
world.
I certainly appreciate it. I know we got connected, so now we're having this conversation. And, they're
Yes.
reading the title, Pathway to the Heart. I mean, I like that. I just think that's everyone wants to make sure they're inside the heart, right? But in the time, and here's the first question, if I can be honest, in the time where there's so much chaos in the world right now, there's so much unrest. Some folks are worried about where the economy is going. Some folks are taking care of loved ones. Why is it more important now than ever before to focus on our inner self versus trying to make sure we solve all the problems around us?
Well, honestly, Shay, it's really because all the problems outside of us are often caused within us. And I feel like when we empower ourselves and to come back to a place of power within ourselves where we could create our lives in a way that we are the ones that are consciously um, living our lives and creating everything from this place of power within ourselves. The world is a direct representation of our inner world.
While that's true, and I agree with you 100%, you help folks kind of understand consciousness from taking a look at their faces, as I say it like that, and kind of reading body language. Take a moment, and for the mom that's out there listening right now and says, whoa, that sounds pretty cool. For the person that's a dualpreneur that works a full time job and they're a full time entrepreneur, they may have to take care of a family member. They're involved in organizations. They're involved in their community. It might be like, wow, Shay, can you slow down for a moment? I understand there's a problem, but can you let Tammy talk for a moment and say, this is why we have this title. I'll say it like that. And this is why it's important to entrepreneurs today.
Yeah, and even when you speak of this, right, being a full-time mom and also being entrepreneur and just thinking about that, like we have 24/7 hours of the day, and there are our kids, there's, hopefully having some downtime and all the money we're, trying to create in our lives. That alone speaks about a lot of overwhelm. And about the face and body is that, a lot of times our body is a representation of our inner world. And it really, our body is a representation of um, everything that we hold in, everything that our emotional history up to now. And overwhelm really comes from a place of a confidence to prioritize, put self first. Often it comes down to this deservingness level. And further down, it comes into this place of emotions, which by itself is not generally a popular topic. Being with all the mental health concerns that are out there, pre and post COVID. Oh,
I'm sorry, I hit the mute button. Body whisper. I thought that was like so cool, right? Like there are folks right now that are reading your bio. Don't worry about that. They're Googling you. Don't worry about that. But we want to hear from you. Why the title Body Whisper? And what does that mean? And I love it because I think there's a superpower you would tell me in the green room that folks will be able to use to really make this world a much better place.
body whisper. Well, well, I have a gift of being empathic. It's also under this whole face and body reading that sounds very woo. Is under psychosomatic therapy that people listeners may not be aware of, and it's really whispering into your soul is what I do. It's helping you journey back into yourself Because what I noticed is that a lot of people were doing a lot. We're pushing, and we are trying to do all that we can. We measure our success by how many things we finish on this long list that we create, and we measure how good we feel based on that. And in reality, a lot of times it's from a very deep place within ourselves, a core wound, I like to say, because it's actually a place within ourselves that we're pushing a true happiness away because we're actually filling the hole of the wound. And the face and body doesn't lie. It speaks about everything, like from whether you're on purpose and on direction with your purpose. It speaks about whether you are in overwhelmed the gifts that you may be ignoring within yourself. The left side of the face is the inner world, the right side is the outer world. And I essentially walk someone back into the journey within themselves to see where there's misalignment. And so when we
Mm.
are not living in our full authenticity and alignment in this way, that's when we create things that essentially energetically we're creating more of the same, and we're not actually moving up higher. And if we are, as if at the expense of our happiness, our inner peace, and even the amount of abundance we could actually open up to receive within ourselves.
You mentioned, thanks for sharing that. You mentioned psychomatic therapist, right? I think it's therapy. Is that how you pronounce it? And you're right. I mean, I went to DC public schools. I'm a local guy, by the way, and I heard that like, I really don't know what that means. I really, I mean, I think I know. I think it has something to do with my mindset. And I like what you said about the inner peace. I like everything you talked about. For those that don't know what it is, and I know it's an unfair question, but can you kind of define what is a psychomatic therapist, just so we're all on the same page, please?
Yeah, essentially, to just make it very simple, it's the study of the body, mind, heart, soul connection, alignment. Psycho is very much about the soul, the psyche, the mind piece, and the somatic is the body, the embodiment of our emotions or soul. It's really all one. It's not separated, and so it's really bringing the alignment to all these pieces of us. That if we ignore different pieces of us, we're not going to feel whole, so to speak, is some of the words that some people use. Feel alignment, feel fulfilled. We're looking for this happiness and fulfillment. If we're ignoring different pieces of us, we are essentially ignoring our happiness, our abundance, and the deeper meaning of life, so to speak. And yeah, I think that many people need to hear that, because we hear about it, but to actually align it and practice in our lives, it's difficult to see what we can't see. And fortunately, it's all written in our face and body. And so that's really helpful.
And so it's the concept that once I learn, and the reason, ladies and gentlemen, the reason she's here is that we all have the potential inside of us to perform at a much higher level. And this is not just a conversation about go chase the money, go chase the money, go chase the money. It's not a conversation about buying some technology and that hopefully works. It's not a question about just getting some new app, I say, on your phone, and all of a sudden there's unicorns falling out the sky. I'll say it like that, and rain dust. This is about working on the inner you. And I know I've been guilty, and I'm the first one to say it, Tammy, that I'm guilty sometimes of working on myself because I want to take care of everything else, but I don't slow down and work on myself. To the person out there that's listening that says, yes, this is for me. Yes, I love what I'm saying. But can Tammy take a moment and tell us, who is Tammy? We see she's a nurse. Why is she so passionate about this? What's her backstory, Shay? How did she get into this? Like, okay, we got it, but who is she? And then from there, we'll take it to the next step. So tell them, who are you? What's a little bit about your backstory? We're all curious.
Sure. Yeah. Like you read in my bio, I essentially was nursing one day, and I started having chest pain, heart palpitations. My eyesight went fuzzy, and I couldn't even hear. And I essentially got wheeled off to emergency in front of all my coworkers at work. And, Shay, leading up to that point, I knew I was burning out. I knew I was having problems concentrating on all these things, but I couldn't get myself to let go, you know? And it was from that place where I realized that it's not like I didn't know intellectually what to do. I knew I needed to take time off. I even got a doctor's note to take time off. I couldn't emotionally let go. And I think this journey of mine, where I started trying to heal, doing investing in therapy and personal development, and the talk therapy and all these mind work, mindset work, there's a time and place for it. However, it was not really getting rid of all these feelings I was experiencing, all the anxiety. I was struggling with depression at that time and just chronically burning out, and I started venturing into energy work, and that really made a big difference. But I knew that once I stopped exchanging healings with people every week, all the symptoms would come back. And it really wasn't until I ventured into the emotional and spiritual healing and psychosomatic therapy, bringing the alignment together, where this entirely healed. And as I brought this awareness together and worked with clients in this realm of receiving self love for themselves, it opened up to realizing that this exact piece of alignment also helps us open up to our next level of impact and abundance that we all say we want. You know what I mean? And so my journey has perfectly come together for me to serve people and for me to be very much the doula of someone's inner world so that they could fully live out who they're meant to be in their fullest expression.
I keep hitting the mute button. Sorry about that one. I'm changing it. Sorry, I apologize. I got this new toy, ladies and gentlemen, and this is not a time to be trying a new toy, by the way. So I'll take my hands off that button because obviously I don't have it programmed correctly. That's okay. We're not perfect, but y'all are here. Y'all behind the scenes. But there's something you have here, Tammy, called emotional leadership. And okay, working on yourself is important, ladies and gentlemen. I'm gonna have her give maybe 3 things you can do to focus on yourself and so kind of understand it as the body whisperer. So we'll get to that in a minute. I'm asking to give you 3 good points, but there's another side on here, which is emotional leadership. And I believe this is very important for all of us as entrepreneurs, even if even if you don't have a team yet. I mean, you're a leader of one before you're a leader of many. So Shay, what's your question to Tammy so we can be clear? My question to Tammy is emotional leadership. What's your view of the world, one, on what is leadership? And number 2, how important work you're doing helps folks be more competent leaders of themselves as well.
All right. First question. So what is
The
leadership?
first question is, what is emotional leadership from your view of the world? Because leadership means different things to different folks, right? It really does. So we just want to get your view of the world on emotional leadership.
Yeah, thank you for that clarification. And so for me, emotional leadership is being from a place of power within ourselves to be so in tune with our emotional being and how that plays out with our mindset, how that plays out with our outcomes, and being able to lead from a place where we are conscious of emotions, but not letting emotions run the show. And so, being that all thoughts are stemmed from emotions, and vice versa, it's actually a place of leadership that is very important to be conscious of on every day of our lives, because what we're saying stemming from the emotions is creating our results. And so I speak about emotional leadership and embodiment because very much it comes back to the same thing, in the sense that if we're changing our mindset, but we're not changing how we're holding our body and the breath that we are taking, then the same thing gets repeated. And so emotional leadership is actually, I believe, very, very core of all personal development, inner work, inner peace work, spirituality. And so, yeah, that's my long-winded way of saying how I see emotional leadership.
Well, it's not long-winded. The reason I want to ask that question, and I want to apply it to organizations as well. Yes, a number of folks are entrepreneurs here, but a number of these individuals lead organizations, and they have a team. And inside the organization and inside their team, there's a lot of dynamics that are going on. And one of the things I understand you do is you can work with leaders of organizations as well to help them have a more effective team using these skills. Is that correct? And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring that up. That is correct, though. You do work with organizations as well, or leaders of organizations. Can you help them as well?
Yeah, mainly I work with the leaders of organizations because we must change the leader to change our organization, and we must change a mom and dad to change the family. And so, yeah,
Oh, I like
it's
that.
I
That's
work with
good.
a
We must
lot of.
change the mom and dad to change. Oh, this is good. Ladies and gentlemen, she has a best selling book now. Y'all going to see that, but keep going. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry about that, but I love that. That's good. Good analogy.
Yeah, I'm just trying to catch my train of thought here. But essentially, it is the heart-centered high achiever. I generally work with a lot of entrepreneurs, but definitely work with people in corporate. I have worked in people with in corporate as well. Essentially, it comes down to a very similar thing. It's a place within ourselves that we're scared to be vulnerable a lot of the times. To be a leader is such an important place to be able to know how to be the follower as well as lead, and to be able to hold the space for growth. And a lot of that has to do with emotional leadership and skills, and embodiment, and recognizing the sabotage and being able to feel that in one's body in order to shift that, and to be the role model. Like, because as humans, we have mirror neurons, and we're actually mirroring each other. And so it's really, that's why by example and by modeling as a leader, that makes the difference, at that level. And so, yeah, I'm just curious what comes up for you.
Well, what comes for me when I hear it is that I know for many years I tried not to be vulnerable. The way I was growing up, it was like, you're the boss. And my dad was talking about the boss said this and the boss said that. So when I finished undergraduate and then graduate school and I was working in the world, I thought just plow through and you don't let them know any weakness. And I wasn't good at speaking, and they sent me to this Dale Carnegie class that they have here in the States. And then they ended up sending me to Toastmasters because they said I would talk too fast because I was a severe stuttering problem and all these problems. And so I used to try to bottle that down, and I didn't want anyone to know any of my weaknesses. When in fact, what I'm learning from you is that if we embrace those weaknesses and understand their strengths, not only can we empower them, but we can empower our strengths as well. And I think that's the most important part, because success is a team sport. You can only get so far by yourself in this world. And so everything that you're doing helping us get better helps everyone around us get better. And that's my take on it.
Yeah, I
Make
think
sense?
that's beautiful, and thank you for your vulnerability and sharing, your path in that, right? And a lot of times it's the strengths are birthed from those weaknesses. And I would say that it's just what label we put on it. It's really how we're relating to it that matters. It's the energy we putting forth. It doesn't matter what we do if we're coming from an energy of, low self-worth, or from I work with a lot of high achievers that they don't see that's what they're struggling with. I have someone that's in their 70s who's still trying to reach the next milestone before she's happy. That's one of the symptoms. I call that a symptom from not allowing ourselves to be vulnerable, and not knowing how to journey back within. It's like I have people who are stuck at the same point in their business. What it could be business, family, it usually gets stuck around the same point, is that they don't even know how to show compassion for themselves. And I was one of them. And often the gift of my business is birthed from my pain, which is the beauty, the diamond that birthed from it. Everything starts from a place that we don't want to look. And face and body analysis helps me help people see and understand themselves and stop running away from themselves. And until we have that radical honesty within ourselves and willing to look, that we are forever on some sort of treadmill that someone told us we should be.
Mm. What you're doing, I think, is one what you're doing right now is so important. It's one of the biggest differences I think that's needed in the world today. It's a very, very, very important area, because it could change our life and make it better. And ladies and gentlemen, as you're out there listening, you can have a better life. And it doesn't mean the life you have is bad, but you can have a better life if you employ these techniques that Tammy is talking about right now. Tammy, if you can, take a moment, if you can. And one of my favorite questions I like to ask on these podcasts is, of all the mentors you had. And I know it's an unfair question, but I love to ask it. And you at home, you can lean in, right? Because this is the favorite part where you get to hear about a lesson she learned from one of her mentors that she can pass along to you. And it could have been anywhere in her journey of life, but you will get a chance to benefit. So, Tammy, one of the questions I love to ask is, of all the mentors you've had, what's one of the lessons you learned from any of your mentors that you've held near and dear to your heart, and now you can pay it forward? Even if you mention the mentor's name, you can or you can't. It's entirely up to you. But the benefit to the audience is they get a chance to grow based on how you've grown. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think one thing I could share that my mentor shared with me that I still use to this day, and which I think is very bite-sized and usable for the audience, is that ask yourself in every moment, is this motivated from the mind or is this motivated from the heart? And if you don't know, it likely is coming from the mind. And so that's a really
Whoa,
quick
that's deep.
check in. Yeah, right there. Just a quick check in, just right there. Take a breath into that.
Yeah, that's deep. I mean, when you said that, it's motivated by the. I've never heard that before. It's motivated by the. Is thoughts coming from the mind or coming from the heart? And if you don't know, it's from the mind. Yeah.
It's
So I didn't mean
very
to stop.
likely.
Yeah, I never thought about that. I mean, I'm not being funny here, ladies and gentlemen. That's because you have these thoughts and minds, and Tammy, you may not notice this is not a Shea Brown therapy session, ladies and gentlemen. That is not happening on this call. But I've recently taken on a new hobby, which is media, learning how to capture photography and stuff like that. And when I started this skill 2 years ago, a lot of folks are like, "You can't do that. You're a sales guy. Your team does sales. You don't really do cameras. You're taking on too much. You're expanding it." And for many days, I thought to myself, well, maybe they're right. Maybe I shouldn't. It's a lot going on. It's kind of complicated. People have been doing this for years and years, and I got my AARP card. Okay, I'm 55. I'm like, can I? And I doubted myself. And you would think that I was supposed to be the most motivational guy in the world. And I never asked me that one question you asked, which is it from the mind or is it from the heart? And I would have to say it was all in my mind. So thanks for sharing that. By the way, that created a breakthrough for me.
And let's honor that and just breathe into it. I think
Yeah.
sometimes it's like the breath we need in the day. And I hope that on the show that it really opens up breakthroughs for many people to
Mm-hmm.
awaken. Yeah.
Yeah, it was tough because these weren't my enemies. These are my friends. I mean, it wasn't like I was calling my colleagues. They were like, "Shay, there you go. You're off on the deep end. You're out the. Just stay in your lane, man. You're doing okay." And I was like, "Yeah, but I want to do something different. I want to try something. I mean, why not? So, ladies and gentlemen, you might want to write that one down. Is it from the head or is it from the heart? And that can help you. I'm going to ask one more question. Again, this is not a Shea Brown therapy session, ladies and gentlemen. This is not it. But I want you to be able to benefit and grow as a result of being here. When you leave this conversation, you're off to a better life. I mean, you really are. I'm going to ask her about the challenge people have with just being consistent. And I don't know if there's something in your area of expertise, because they might say, well, okay, I'm always saying I'm going to do something. I have the right mindset. But Tammy, I really struggle with, doing what I should know I should do, right? I know what to do, Tammy, but sometimes I don't do it, whether it's bad habits they have, or maybe it's habits going in a relationship, or maybe it's with themselves, promises they make to themselves and they don't keep them. So my question to you, Tammy, is what do you share with folks as it relates where they feel their heart's in the right place and they want to do the right thing, but guess what? They never seem to be consistent.
Yeah. And there are a lot of angles at this, I will say. And
Yeah.
one thing that has kept me aligned on my journey is being aligned with what my heart says, which I discovered early on is to help people embody self love and acceptance and return to the truth of who they are. And it fuels me to stay on my path. I will speak about this why, this purpose, this meaning, that why we do what we do more than the paycheck. And, just because, the basics of what we make up look deeper than that. That's a definitely really important piece. And another piece that's coming through for me to share with everyone is that not everyone's meant to be consistently consistent. And until you actually
Wow.
know your connection with yourself and how your rhythms operate, coaches will tell you that. But not everyone's meant to do it that way. And this is the importance of the self inner work journey, whatever you want to call it, right? It's that you actually create more, allowing yourself to have periods of rest. And then you go full steam. Some people actually need to be consistent. A lot of us actually need a lot more rest that we don't feel we should take. And everyone outside of us tells us we should do things a certain way. So that's motivated by the mind. And I really hope that reaches the people that needs to hear that, because that could keep us trapped on this hamster wheel cycle for a long time.
I've never heard it that way, and that makes a lot of good sense. It makes you feel like you're not weird. I hate to say it like that, but it makes me feel like, Jay, some things weren't meant to be the way they say they should be. You got to do it your way, which feels good for you and what's inside your heart. So again, thanks a lot. I mean, this is one of those conversations, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to suggest, and I'm going to ask Tammy in a moment what type of clients she works with and how you can stay in contact. But I'm going to make a recommendation. If you haven't had inner work done, in the last 60 days, I'm saying 60 days now, okay? Because that means that's probably all of you. You might want to reach out to Tammy and at least have the conversation. This has probably been the most in-depth type of interview I've ever done, where the folks are doing a deep dive into your heart and not trying to change all the stuff in your mind, but they're saying, feel it in the heart first. And that's pretty deep. So Tammy, if you can, slow down, take a moment as we come down the home stretch, and talk. What type of clients do you work with? If your firm's taking on any clients, I don't know if you are or not, by the way, but if you are, what type of clients are you looking for? And number two, how can folks best connect with you over and beyond the conversation that we just had?
Yeah, I would love to, please venture onto my website, go to Path to the Heart, exactly how it sounds. Not pathway, just pathtotheheart.com and then /links. Then you have access to a complimentary deep dive discovery session with me to see if we're a good fit and if this is part of your journey right now. And as well as my different social media handles, as well as discover what your face shape says about you as a beginning part of really getting to know yourself and to stay connected with me. And one thing I will say, just because I am a body whisperer, is that if you look in the mirror after listening to this beautiful show, and you notice yourself judging a particular part of your body, yeah, shoot me an email because every part of your body is actually speaking to you, a subconscious part of you. And you can email me at tammy@pathtotheheart.com and just, I'd be happy to answer what that means for you. If that is showing up for you as you look at your beautiful face in the mirror, and maybe there's parts that you're not fully seeing yourself. And so love to sort of get you on the path of that journey if that resonates for you.
Thanks a lot, Tammy. We appreciate you being on the Happy Entrepreneur Show. I encourage you all to connect with her. Thank you so much. And thank you to viewers. Thank you for tuning in, by the way. Thank you for tuning in every night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I wait to say these words every night. It's one of my favorite parts of the entire show, and that is to remind you that you're awesome, that you're amazing, that you've got greatness inside you. You've got the potential to perform at a higher level, and that for that reason, that today is your January 1st, you get a fresh start, you get a do-over, and your best is still yet to come. Your best is yet to come. Your best is still yet to come. With that being said, my name, by the way, is Shay Brown, the Happy Entrepreneur. Make it a great day, everyone. And I promise you from the bottom of my heart, can I still say that? I'm joking. From the bottom of my heart, we'll make some good things happen. We connect again next time. God bless, and I wish you success. Remember this, though. Remember this. Time is long. Life is short. You got to live in that moment. You got to make it count. God bless. We out. Thanks a lot, Tammy. We appreciate you. Appreciate you all. Peace. Good night.